Michigan has almost 20,000 cold cases sitting in evidence lockers right now. 20,000. In one state. You have heard of the Oakland County child killer. You have heard of Jimmy Hoffa. Those cases have been covered 1,000 times over. But the 3 cases I am about to tell you tonight, almost nobody has touched them. No major documentary. No true crime channel with millions of subscribers. Just a handful of local news clippings, a few grieving families, and case files that have not moved in decades. Here's what connects all 3. The evidence was right there. It was always right there. A body with injuries that made accident impossible to write on any official form. A car abandoned 15 miles from a murder scene. Keys still in the ignition. A woman who did not have a name for 25 years. The evidence was never the problem. Someone always had to decide what to do with it. And in all 3 cases, someone decided to look away. This is Cold Cases, Forgotten by America. Case File 1. Terry Wayne Sutter. Frankfort, Michigan. September 1st, 1973. This is Terry Sutter. 15 years old. A kid from Frankfort who finished mowing a neighbor's lawn the evening he disappeared, waited for his mother to pick him up, and when she did not come, simply walked to find his friends himself. He was the kind of kid who showed up without being asked. The kind of son who always came home. He had one instruction that night. Be at his grandmother's house no later than 11. He never arrived. September 1st, 1973. Labor Day weekend. Terry heads into the woods near Sleeping Bear Dunes with friends. 300-foot sand bluffs dropping straight into Lake Michigan below. Dense forest pressing in from behind. During the day it is postcard perfect. By night it becomes something else entirely. Silent. Dark. Completely isolated. What Terry did not know as he walked into those woods that afternoon was that he would not walk back out. By 9 in the evening, he is not home. By 10, his family starts making calls. By 11, the curfew passes and the phone calls stop working. His parents contact police. Officers tell the family he is probably hiding somewhere to avoid going back to school. Teenagers do that kind of thing. They are wrong. The next morning, a tourist walking the Lake Michigan shoreline stops in her tracks. Something is on the beach below the dunes. She calls it in. What the autopsy reveals stops every investigator in the room cold. Terry Sutter did not drown. His lungs are filled with sand. Not water. Sand. Someone held this 15-year-old boy face down in the sand until he suffocated. His body shows severe bruising across his head and neck. Consistent with a violent physical assault. His shoes and socks are never found. His pants turn up days later. Not near the beach where he died. On the Frankfort Pier. Folded. Placed there deliberately. By someone who was already gone. And within days of that autopsy, investigators look at everything in front of them and rule his death an accident. Think about that decision. A 15-year-old boy. Sand forced deep into his lungs. Bruising across his head and neck. Clothing moved to a different location after his death. Official conclusion. Accident. Almost immediately, witnesses begin coming forward quietly. A tourist tells police she saw what appeared to be a body being removed from a vehicle near the beach that night. A young woman tells a friend, and these are almost her exact words. I cannot believe what they did to Terry Sutter. Over the following years, multiple individuals tell investigators through recorded statements that Terry was beaten and thrown from the bluff while still alive. Journalists who attempt to revisit the case later report receiving warnings. Stop asking questions. Terry's grandmother requests an open casket funeral, so that anyone who comes can see exactly what was done to him. His parents bury him in Lake Township Cemetery. Then his grave begins being vandalized. Flower pots broken. Plants ripped out. Again and again and again. Things get so bad that his parents eventually move his remains into an unmarked grave. Terry Wayne Sutter, murdered at 15, now lies in an unmarked grave in Michigan. No name on the stone. Michigan State Police revisit the case. Local task forces reopen it in 2009 and 2010. Tip lines established. Witnesses re-interviewed. Sheriffs publicly state their belief that someone in this community knows exactly what happened. Same state. Same case. Same answer. No arrests. No charges. No one ever held responsible. More than 50 years later, Terry Sutter's case is still not officially classified as a homicide. Somewhere in Michigan tonight, someone who was on that shoreline in 1973 is still alive. What do you think happened to Terry? Your gut answer. Right now. Drop it below. Because the second case is going to make you question how a killer walks away clean for 25 years. Terry's case stayed frozen in 1973. But he was not the only one Michigan forgot. Case File 2. In Paetz, Thetford Township, Michigan. July 2, 1999. This is in Paetz. 23 years old. A Frankenmuth girl who spent 3 years studying art in Pittsburgh and came back home to the people she loved. Friends described her as the kind of person who made every room feel different when she walked into it. Warm. Funny. The first one to pick up the phone when someone needed help. She always let people know where she was. She always called to check in. Her family said she was the kind of daughter who never just disappeared without a word. That summer evening, she had been out with friends. Late night. Early July. Warm Michigan air. At some point after midnight, she gets into her mother's 1995 Ford Contour. Starts the short drive toward Montrose. A route she had taken 100 times without a second thought. What Ann did not know as she pulled out onto that road was that someone was already waiting. July 2nd, 1999. A jogger finds Ann Paetz's body on the side of Farron Road in Thetford Township the following morning. She has been stabbed in the neck. She died from blood loss on the side of a rural Michigan road in the middle of the night. Then investigators find her car. 15 miles away. Abandoned on M57. The keys. Still inside. Fresh damage near the back right tire. Think about what that means. Someone stabbed a 23-year-old woman. Left her body on the roadside. Then got behind the wheel of her mother's car. Drove it 15 miles in the opposite direction. Got out. Left the keys sitting right there. And walked away into the dark. Investigators believe the car detail works in their favor. That kind of move suggests panic. An amateur. Amateurs usually get caught. Except this one does not. A suspect named Jack Hall is identified early in the investigation. Search warrants are executed in connection with Hall in July 1999. Hall is currently serving a life sentence for kidnapping in a separate case. No arrest is ever made for Ann's murder. For years, a small DNA sample found on Ann's ring is the only physical evidence pointing anywhere. Western Michigan University students in a cold case program spend hundreds of hours going through the evidence boxes. One student who reviews the file says publicly, "I definitely have somebody in mind. I think it was not just a random attack. I think it was premeditated." Those students never get close enough to an answer. Same road. Same evidence. Same result. No arrests. No charges. No one ever held responsible. More than 25 years later, Ann Paetz's murder remains unsolved. A reward of $4,000 sits unclaimed. And somewhere, whoever drove those 15 miles that night has spent over 2 decades never having to answer for it. Who do you think was behind the wheel of that car? Your gut answer. Right now. Because the third case is unlike anything I have shown you tonight. Ann's family at least knows her story. For 25 years, nobody even knew the victim's name. Case File 3. Stephanie Renee Judson. Ada Township, Michigan. 1996, July 31, 1997. A maintenance worker picking up trash at a roadside park on M21 east of Ada finds human remains in a wooded area behind the outbuildings. He calls the Kent County Sheriff's Office. For the next 25 years, this woman exists as 3 words in a filing cabinet. Ada Bones Jane Doe. No name. No family notified. No obituary written. No grave with a marker. Just a case number. And a set of remains that investigators try everything to identify. And cannot. A clay model made from her skull. Forensic sketches distributed statewide. DNA samples sent to the University of North Texas. Digital reconstructions circulated through national databases. Nothing comes back. Now here's who she actually was. This is Stephanie Renee Judson. Born January 2nd, 1966. Benton Harbor, Michigan. A mother of 2 who moved to Grand Rapids in the late 1980s and built a life there. She always called on birthdays. She always reached out on holidays, no matter what was happening in her life. The kind of woman her family described as someone who never let the people she loved feel forgotten. Her son wished her a happy birthday on Facebook. 1 year before her remains were finally identified. "Wherever you are missed," he wrote. He had been looking for his mother for years. He did not know she had been lying unidentified in a filing cabinet less than an hour from where he posted those words. What Stephanie's family did not know was that she had been dead since 1996. More than a year before her remains were even discovered. In 2020, Detective Dustin Cook of the Kent County Sheriff's Office partners with the DNA Doe Project, a nonprofit that uses investigative genetic genealogy to identify unknown remains. A tooth and a femur are sent to Astrea Forensics for DNA extraction. Initial attempts fail. Samples are combined and sent to Hudson Alpha Discovery Labs. A workable DNA profile is finally generated. Researchers begin building family trees from the genetic data. Branch by branch. State by state. The trail leads to Mississippi. Then to Benton Harbor. Then to a family that has spent years wondering why their daughter simply stopped calling. On January 5, 2022, the DNA Doe Project makes the announcement. Ada Bones Jane Doe has a name. Stephanie Renee Judson. 30 years old when she died. When Detective Cook speaks to the press after the identification, he uses one word to describe the technology that gave her back her name. Incredible. But here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Knowing her name does not tell us who killed her. Investigators believe Stephanie may have been one of 12 women killed in Kent, Muskegon, and Ottawa counties between 1994 and 1997. 12 women. One time period. Same region. No arrests. No named suspect. Same state. Same pattern. Same answer. No one ever held responsible. A mother of 2 from Benton Harbor, Michigan. Unidentified for 25 years. While her son posted birthday messages to her on Facebook. Not knowing where she was. Not knowing she was already gone. The Kent County Sheriff's Office still lists her homicide as active and unsolved today. Somewhere out there, someone knows what happened to Stephanie Renee Judson in 1996. That person has had 25 years to build an entirely different life. Maybe in the same community where she died. What do you think happened to her? Your gut answer. Right now. Drop it below. 3 cases. 3 Michigan families still waiting. A 15-year-old boy beaten and suffocated on a Lake Michigan beach. Official ruling. Accident. A 23-year-old woman stabbed on a rural roadside while someone drove her car 15 miles the other way and left the keys in the ignition. A mother of 2 whose family spent 25 years not knowing she had been dead since 1996. Until a DNA researcher traced a family tree branch by branch from Mississippi to Michigan. And gave her back her name. Same state. Same pattern. Same answer every single time. The evidence was always there. Someone just had to decide what to do with it. That is what makes these cases different from the famous ones. There is no elaborate plot. No criminal mastermind. Just an ordinary day that turned into somebody's worst nightmare. And a case file that never closed. For these three families, there is no such thing as ancient history. There is just an unanswered question that gets a little heavier every single year it stays unanswered. Michigan has thousands of files exactly like these sitting in evidence rooms right now. Most of them will never get a single video made about them. That is exactly why we made this one. If any of these cases stuck with you, drop your theory in the comments. Sometimes the smallest observation from a stranger online is the one detail an investigator never considered. Next week we go somewhere darker. 3 cases where investigators did not just fail to solve the crime. They knew who did it. And buried the evidence anyway. Subscribe and hit the bell. You do not want to miss that one. Somewhere in Michigan tonight, 3 case files are still sitting on a shelf. The evidence is still there. The families are still waiting. And somewhere, someone still knows exactly what happened. Stay safe out there. Know the roads you drive every day. Because Paetz had driven that road 100 times before. So had everyone else who never made it home.